Hello, and welcome to Sports by Compion. My name, of course, is Stephen Compion, and I'm joined here by my powerful co-host, Daniel Gill is in the house, people. Get excited. Dan, how you doing over there, bud?
Well, I color coordinated my outfit, so I guess that's funny.
Well, Dan, you sure did, and you look absolutely splendid in that Irish jersey, repping the boys, repping the green. We love to see it out here. What are some of the things that are on your mind about this episode here today, Dan? What do you think is going to
Well,
happen? What do you think about life in general?
we had an amazing conversation about the XFL expansion, and it's only appropriate that we now have one about the USFL expansion.
That is appropriate, yes. And that is exactly what we'll be doing here today, ladies and gentlemen. We will be announcing some cities that should certainly welcome in a USFL expansion, and we would love to see it here at Sports by Compion. Continue to grow these leagues. But before we do that, Dan, there's two different ways that this has been going for these spring football leagues. So one of them, the XFL has been just going out, and they're pretty ballsy. They're having full stadiums in each wherever it is they are, and they're spread out quite far throughout the United States, with the Seattle Sea Dragons being all the way out there in the west. They got the Battle Hawks right there in the middle, so they're quite spread out. The USFL is doing a much different approach, which we have commented on in this pod that we're not necessarily crazy about, but who knows? Maybe some opinions have changed. Either way, what they're mostly doing is about three home stadiums in total?
Oh, four.
Four. So they got four stadiums: Birmingham, Memphis, Ohio, and where's the fourth one?
Detroit.
Detroit, right. So those are the four stadiums, and then basically all the 8 teams they have in this league all circulate and play through those games. I mean, either games there, so whether you're the home team or not. So such as teams like New Jersey don't have a home stadium, the Stars don't have a home stadium, the Maulers don't have a home stadium. And it's interesting. Breakers, Gamblers, none of these teams have a home stadium. It's kind of funny that they have Ohio and no Ohio team, which is may or may not be on our list. But so these are the two different approaches that are going on out there. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I think I've been pretty vocal in that terms. I like how the XFL does this. I think this is why it's been better in the XFL. I'm aware that Vegas and Orlando did not draw well this year, but there's a little bit of other factors when it comes to that. Because the Orlando drew well in the AAF, so I think it's just give it time there. But we've been watching these USFL games week in, week out. The attendance is not good unless it's Michigan's home, Memphis' home, or Birmingham's home. The Ohio ones, it's honestly a toss up. I've seen games that are good, some games that are bad, but I think trying to leverage that. Hey, this is our team isn't happening there. And I don't know if there's an idea of going for broke. If all teams can't play in their home city, we're not doing it or what. I think you just put as many teams as possible in their host cities, and ones that can't, you can put them in a hub and try to move them closer to their cities or something. Like let's say Jersey can't work out a deal, but Pittsburgh can. I don't think there's a problem leaving them in Canton because then they can kind of become Canton's team in the meantime because there's only one to get behind.
There you go.
I'm not a big fan of the hub model. I don't think it's helping their cause. That's me.
Yeah, I can see how on the expense parts for them it makes way more sense. But you're trying to create a brand. You're trying to create fans that want to spend money on your team and have faith that that team's not going to go down like the next year. And they don't want a collectible. They want to be able to get behind a team that's good, winning games and everything, but also just going to be a part of the city for more than just a quick cash grab. It's the same thing every good customer out there worries about is this company going to be reputable and around? And you got to show them that you have faith in to build your stadiums there, or at least make the team from that area.
Well, and the first time around for the USFL, they all played in their markets, so it's shown that it's possible for them.
Really, I thought they were doing it all in Birmingham last year.
No, the like in the '80s.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like the original iteration of the USFL, they all played in markets. Yeah, the first year of USFL, they were all in Birmingham because of COVID, as they claimed. But no, like the original league in the '80s, they all played in their market.
Okay. Well, either way, we have a couple teams. We have a couple places we think they should expand to. Dan, you want to go ahead and start it off?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think kind of like we talked about, there's two ways to look at this. They're going to keep the hub model. I think it drastically changes how you look at markets because to some varying degree, you would think that the cities do need to be close to each other. Sure, Philly is playing Detroit. That doesn't make sense. That's pretty far away. Houston is, up in, I believe, Memphis. So that's a little bit far away. But, I was looking at Oakland. This is a little bit of a grab in terms of, we saw this at Jeff in St. Louis with the XFL and a place that has recently lost their team. Obviously, the Coliseum in Oakland is not exactly the most viable venue. So that's going to be the biggest problem to putting a team out there because they don't really have anywhere else to go. Um,
Right.
sure, maybe they could go to San Diego State. It's not too far away, but then at that point, do you even call them Oakland? You could pair them with, Sacramento. Sacramento was a decent city in the UFL back in the late 2000s, early 2010s. That they did well. Kind of where I got the idea from Harvard for the XFL. So I think you can maybe pair those together. But even if you do a single city, I think Oakland would survive. It might not be a bad idea. One that I think if the next two are kind of caveats for me. So if they're able to actually put these teams in their markets, I think you make sure that you add a team to Canton. Yes, they're already playing in Canton, but if Pittsburgh and Jersey leave to go, to their respective places, you've already built an interest there. This is
Yeah, it'd
your
be a
first
fool to
or
not have a team there.
your first
Absolutely.
full year. Yeah, it's your first full year there, but you did have the USFL championship game there. So I think the interest is there.
For sure.
Also, that area is a tourist hub anyway, so it's easy to rope in going to the Hall of Fame. So I think Canton would be a phenomenal place, first place that a football team has played. And then we've also been pretty vocal about this one on the show. Why did either league ever take a team out of Tampa? One of those leagues should have kept the team in Tampa.
Ridiculous.
So that's one that maybe you do a hub uh, in Tampa or give Tampa their own team, but you can't put Tampa somewhere else. I think it's a market that, especially they have a nice corridor with having New Orleans, Birmingham, Memphis right there.
Yeah.
That can make a nice little division if you got the league bigger to break it out a little more. We have a nice little corridor there of teams, but I think it was a mistake of both or both leagues to leave that city. And the USFL, I think, would be a prime candidate to just jump back in there, bring the Bandits back. Steven can get his jersey,
Let's go.
you know.
Let's go, Bandits.
But no, those are my four. Sure, we could look at San Diego again. You talked about in the XFL, but there's more playing partners out that way when it comes to the XFL versus the USFL. So you really have to invest a lot, pretty far west to make those work.
Right. Well, that's some excellent points, Dan, and I fully agree about Canton. Absolutely, the West Coast teams are just money. There's like, why wouldn't you? There's so much interest in people in general out there who want to do stuff. Absolutely make it available. You'll probably be successful. I love the idea of bringing the team back to Tampa. Of course, would love to be able to support the Bandits again, and actually have a team that we're fully behind in this league. Unlike the Battlehawks in the XFL, I wouldn't say I have like a full team that I'm fully behind it here in the USFL. What about you, Dan? Oh, I guess kind of the Generals.
Well, I mean, XFL, I would say, I'm a big DC Defenders guy. Become pretty invested in them. But yeah, I haven't really picked a horse in the race for the USFL. My region, Philly, I guess, because in the
Yeah.
'80s, Philly did move to Baltimore, and we're the Baltimore Stars. So I
Okay.
guess there's a little bit of love there, but I haven't really picked a horse in this race yet.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, my predictions were more so kind of some probably crazy ones, but it's all about, in my eyes, going to a city, a state that doesn't have a team, and I think that kind of stuff does pay off. So I would say Wisconsin's on the table for sure. I bring them up just about every one of these expansion videos, but I do think there's a lot of people there and a lot of interest if you market it the right way. If you're not going all the way up to Green Bay, which is far, that's the only football team in the area. Besides the Brewers, you could build something around Milwaukee, around one of those suburbs there of Madison, and I think you could survive in that area there. There's enough population, it's growing. And the team, there's just not a lot of football out in that area. If you want to go out to Iowa, give the Iowa. We talked about this before. The college love doesn't necessarily translate to the professionals, but the Iowa Hawkeyes have tons of support. I do believe Iowa is due for a team. Obviously, there's Illinois and Indiana. You can put something smack in the middle of them there in Northwest Indiana and draw from both. So I believe the Midwest is prime for picking. Now, no USFL teams out there so far besides Ohio, so maybe just expand that a little bit, try to get that North Division a little more powerful. Moving into some of the stuff that's a little closer to their hub already. So I like the idea of Virginia. There's no actual professional sports team there besides is that technically Baltimore? No, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
no.
there's so I mean, if anything, they draw more towards DC based teams out there. Sure, you have a AAA ball club in Norfolk, you have a AA ball club in Richmond. So Richmond or Norfolk would probably be your best hubs in that state.
Yeah, it's a little bit. It's not too far outside of where they are already. I think you still have a pretty good market, probably some interest there. This is just all about getting out there and expanding some extra places that you're not competing with another team for ticket sales and such. I mean, they are in the spring, so you're going to be competing a little bit less regardless. But this is a young league that needs to take some chances. If you're going to survive, I think it's just going to be hard right now. You're competing with the XFL. They have a little bit more of a flash to them right now. Even though they barely played, they played like a handful of games the year before. More people remember that than they remember that the USFL did a whole year. So it's kind of like one of those things. They got a little bit of ground to gain. Do they need to overextend and get crazy? No. All right. Well, then stick with some of these ideas we've talked about that are closer to home, like Canton and maybe Virginia since it's close enough, but maybe, obviously you got to check out the market on these things. But, even going down to Tennessee isn't a crazy idea. Just staying all here on the West Coast East Coast is fine. I have no problem with them not wanting to expand all the way out to the West just yet. Maybe get your footing under your ground for the first couple of years and just really establish yourself all along the East.
For sure. It'll just get a little tight, but there's definitely markets to make it work. Birmingham seems to be doing well despite a city or a college area, so maybe that might be a move to make for them in that. Maybe put stuff around Clemson. I don't know. And see what happens.
Well, Dan, that has been our ideas about USFL expansion. Do you have any final thoughts to say about this league, or how they are in general?
No, I mean I think they're going in the right direction. In terms of they do have phenomenal coverage. It's nice that they partner with ABC and Fox.
Yeah.
As you said, they're about to head into their second full season, which is always promising and makes it easier to get behind when it comes to the expansion and whatnot. So I think things are trending in the right direction. It's nice that we're seeing some of the USFL players make the jump to the NFL. Because when that happens, people are more likely to tune in and check it out, like Turpin. So, you just got to watch it and see what happens.
Yeah. No, I'm the same. I think they're headed in the right direction. You're seeing turnaround in the bad teams, like the Maulers. Didn't have a win last year. Now they're in the semifinals. It's good to see, these teams out here expanding, getting better. Good competition pretty much all year, especially in the North. Even in the South, we didn't see the Birmingham just absolutely dominate as they did last year. The Breakers gave them a good fight. A couple teams were right in there with them, so you love to see it. I think it's going to be, at the time of this recording, still haven't seen the final of it, but it's been an interesting league to follow. I'll just say that, and I do wish them the best as they continue to expand. It's lovely to see football in the spring, right, Dan?
Absolutely.
Support the product and such. And by the way, Sports by Compian out.